farms in the state of Iowa that, and we've called them and worked with them, and so this is a bill that probably in the last 15 years, the first time that environmental folks and the livestock folks are all on the same page, because they want the regulation to stay here in Iowa and not have the federal EPA in here fining them because of not having the proper containment. And the other bill dealt with feedlots, both open feedlots and confinement feedlots. And the change we made that they're okay with is when you count the animals, say you had large animals, beef cattle and hogs on the same location, you count them separately with the passage of this bill. So there's not a companion bill in the House. DNR is concerned that these bills move along, and so that's the reason we passed them this morning. And if you have any questions, I try to answer.
Just two things. One is just a couple comments about a couple of big debates we had this week. First is the healthcare bill. I'm just very, very proud, and I think this reflected on the other side of the aisle as well, as the extreme bipartisan nature of that work preparing for the debate and the debate. It was a major piece of legislation, and we passed it out, I believe, unanimously, and sent that over to the Senate. The House position is that we're looking forward to working in a bipartisan way now with the Senate to see if we can strengthen the bill even further. But the significant amount of work that went behind the scenes to come up with a major piece of legislation that was done in such a bipartisan way, I think, given an election year, is something to be pretty proud of. Another thing that we're kind of proud of, although some of us are disappointed in the course that it took, but proud of the fact that the smoking legislation is a very emotional, passionate subject for a lot of folks on both sides of the issue. Not a partisan debate, but it is very passionate. And we actually have done some things this year because we think the debate is important, to have a legitimate debate where the outcome is not necessarily determined in advance. So often we get a pretty good idea of what the exact vote count is on a bill, and the debates are predetermined. But both was the first time we passed this bill in the House, an admittedly imperfect bill with the casino exemption that covered a lot of 99% of public places, and with the second time we didn't know for sure the outcome of the bill because it is so passionate, it is so emotional. So to have some legitimate debates where the debate is actually moving votes is something that I think was refreshing. I think the likely outcome is that we'll have this bill soon in some sort of conference committee where we can try to improve the bill from a public health perspective and come up with something that can also pass both chambers. That's going to still take a lot of work, but I think it's refreshing to have that for the debate.
And I'll go ahead and move to the answering a question I'm sure it's going to be asked. It's going to be about tomorrow, the filing deadline at 5 o'clock. House Democrats feel very good about where we're at in recruiting. We expect to have the most candidates we've recruited in 24 years for House seats. Along with that, we're very optimistic. We're going to have 49 incumbents running for re-election. We have Rolf Faggy announced this week that he wasn't running for re-election, but we still are very optimistic. We have 49 people running for re-election. Republicans have 37 incumbents running for re-election. On top of that, we feel very good about the fundraising end of it. We've raised $1.1 million last year to about $725,000 that Republicans raised. Plus, on top of that, we feel like we've got excellent candidates in regards to our recruiting this year. So we're very optimistic about where we're at. We feel like we have an excellent opportunity to pick up seats, and hopefully that answers those questions when they come up.
Let me talk about a couple things. First of all, as you know, we're probably taking up the smoking bill here this morning, and we believe that there will be votes there to reject the House amendment. We'll send this bill back to the House and it will end up in conference. Let me be clear, this legislation is about protecting the workers in the state, 100,000 workers that are exposed to secondhand smoke. We think that's an important public health measure here, that we need to take steps to improve Iowa's law on that subject. So I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to send that bill back to the House and continue work on it in a conference committee in all likelihood. Next week we're going to deal with some bills. We'll probably have a day where we do some consumer protection bills, a credit freeze and requirement that certain credit card information be kept confidential. We will deal with several health care bills next week as well. We may in fact deal with the House bill that came over, but we'll also be looking at a healthy families bill. Senator Apple's doing in a let me also tee off of what Speaker Murphy said. We too are very excited about our recruitment this year. We have a great set of candidates. We've been very fortunate the last 3 cycles to recruit some really great people that are natural leaders in their community already, and convince them to run for office. We've done that again this year. And I'd also say we have 1 Democrat retiring, and we have, and on the Republican side, they have 14 members out of 60 very full-time retiring. Almost 50% of their caucus is retiring. And essentially every one of those 6 retirements is an opportunity for us to pick up, a significant opportunity for us to pick up a seat. So we too look forward to this fall's elections. I think I'll stop there, and any of us will take your questions.
Does it matter who's at the top of the ticket, Mike?
Can it matter who's on the top of the ticket? Sure, it can matter. But I would say there have been many times in the last 25 years where we were counter to the top of the ticket. So there have been times when Democrats have been doing well at the national level, and Bill Clinton was winning in '92 and the House went Republican, and Bill Clinton was winning easy re-election in '96 and the Senate went Republican. And George Bush was winning easy re-election in 2004, and we tied the Iowa Senate. So we don't think that determines the outcome. We think 80–90% of these races are about the quality of the candidates you recruit. And if you recruit people that are already community leaders, it doesn't really matter what the national trend is or what the top of the ticket does. We can win those races, and we've proved that in the last 2 cycles.
And with they have 14 seats of 6, as you mentioned, are retirements. How big a number could you get?
How big can we get to?
Now, how big a number can you get?
60%. 60% of the Senate is the most in the history of the state. Democrats having 60%, what we have right now, 30 out of 50, that's 60%. That's the most in the history of the state. We feel like we have a pretty good chance of making a new record.
Have you had running a Dave Mulder seat?
No one at this point.
Okay, because you said they're all competitive.
I think they're all potentially competitive districts.
Okay.
In '64, we elected a Democrat in that seat.
Well, maybe he'll run again.
How old were you then?
4.
Okay. I was in high school, so.
Mike, can you talk about the election stuff a little bit? Since the caucus ended, Senator Clinton's folks have complained about how it keeps people away, everybody can't take part in that caucus. Can you talk about that bill a little bit? Do we need to do more to force employers to let people have the night off, that kind of thing?
We passed that bill yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we passed that bill yesterday.
But since you're-
And we do think that's part of us making the case that this state, making the case for 2012, that this state should continue to be a lead-off state in terms of the presidential campaign. So we are looking at our laws, trying to make sure that we're updating them in a way that's responsive to concerns that are expressed at the national level, and we will continue to review recommendations, frankly, from both parties that we come up with ways to do that.
And the Republicans said this morning that if you kick the smoking bill into a conference committee, that's likely to be a long and contentious conference committee because the 2 sides are fairly polarized. Can that be solved quickly, or is it going to be a long, drawn-out fight?
Hard to tell. Hard to tell right now. We could probably find a lot of areas where we go halfway between the House and the Senate and get out of it.
How do you go halfway between 21
We have
and...
the original bill the House passed covered approximately 99% of all workers in the state of Iowa.
Right.
And the Senate bill covered 100%.
And the bill they sent back to you...
99.5% would be kind of halfway.
Well, the bill they sent back to you said you can't smoke in public unless you really want a cigarette.
That's why we think it's important to go to conference.
Well,
And get a better bill because it's all about public health.
What's
It's all
the
about public health. It's all about protecting 99% of the workers in the state of Iowa or more. And if we
But
can
what's the
get more, that's what
compromise?
we
You
can do.
either have bars and restaurants exempt or bars and restaurants not exempt.